Is HHN 33 going to be good? Or is it a bit overrated?
By the time you're watching this, Halloween Horror Nights is literally just days away. And if you haven't planned your adventures for the spooky season yet, it's not too late.
But you should probably start planning.
But you should probably start planning. We're here to help though, we're here to help. However, there's a lot of haters out there that are saying about HHN 33. So let's talk about it.
But before we get into some of the haters, let's go quickly over what Halloween Horror Nights has this year. 5 scare zones, like normal. 10 houses, like normal. So far, only 1 confirmed show.
Hopefully there's a second on the way.
Probably be more. And of course, there will be some great food and some great merch.
By the time you're watching this, they should have dropped the food announcements by now.
Hopefully.
And the tribute store is well on its way. I'm very excited about seeing the new facade coming up and just all of the details coming up in these scare zones. So far, I think I'm pretty excited for Torture Fair, to be perfectly honest.
I think that's gonna be really cool.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on the houses so far?
There's a lot of good options.
This year really does seem like it's a year of sequels or prequels, depending on which house you're actually talking about. And that's some of the information based off of the podcast as well. So I'm really specifically mentioning Eternal Bloodlines, which really does seem like it is a sequel to the Legends Collide house.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one. As we listen to the Discovery Universal podcast for this, I honestly want to call it second Legends Collide, it felt very much like a series to the original Legends Collide from 2 years ago, which we absolutely loved. And I'm more excited even now after listening to it, just because I think it's going to be a very solid house.
And then to the actual sequel houses that we already know are sequels, you have Slaughter Cinema 2. And then you also have Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, which is just a natural progression of the Ghostbusters house.
Correct. Now, there's a lot of people out in the internet's world that have very strong opinions about this HHN season. Some good, some not so good. I think Kanye said it best. And if they hate, then let them hate and watch the money pile up. I think Universal's gonna do just fine. But if you don't believe us, we have pulled a couple different comments from the Googles.
The interweb.
The interweb. And we wanted to share them with you, talk about it, and get your opinion on what you think or are expecting at this season of HHN.
Our first comment we want to go over, it's so crowded that if you don't have Express Pass, you'd have a horrible time with hours and hours in line. Universal doesn't have a cap on how many people can go in. Yes, HHN is busy.
Especially night 1, the lines are long. But the season runs August 30th through November 3rd on select nights, and depending on the night you go, there may or may not be bigger crowds than others. Weekends do tend to be busier, weeknights, not so bad.
And the thing I really want to, comment on is the idea of exclusivity, particularly when it comes to Express Pass. Everybody wants Express Pass and have basically express lines.
Nobody wants to pay for Express Pass.
Exactly.
Though.
Nobody really wants to pay for it. So when Universal naturally increases prices to deal with some of the crowds, people will complain that prices have gone up.
Now, Express Pass is fantastic. And if you haven't watched our video on Express Pass and how helpful it can be, check that out after this. But we do recommend, if you don't want to wait as long in lines, purchase an Express Pass. But buy it ahead of time before you go to the parks, because if you buy it the night of, it's almost 100% guaranteed that that's going to cost you a little bit more than it would have if you bought it ahead of time. On to the next hater.
August. Jesus. Can we bring back the old HHN, please?
It's like one night in August.
Yep.
2? How many days are in August?
2, 3.
30 days.
3.
Yeah. It's a blip.
Yeah.
But it still runs through November 3rd.
Hey, it could be Mickey's Not So Scary. You could start.
Oh, that started back in like May. But I'm not mad about it. Personally, as somebody who celebrates the spooky season as of July 5th, basically, in this household. And we also, little secret here, we do put our Christmas tree up on October 31st.
It's November 1st.
Fine. We start prepping October 31st. But nonetheless, why not take advantage of a season as long as you can?
And it does run for the same number of days as last year, so. I'll take it.
I don't know exactly what they mean by the old HHN, but if you mean limited nights
Like 2
with less
days?
dates, then no.
How far
I
back
wanna
are we
go back
going?
to that. Yeah, yeah. Oh, the time that they ran it in islands. Next. I think we need a different word for hater. Next, Debbie Downer. Man, IPs are lacking this year.
Everything was gonna feel kind of like a letdown when compared to last year. Stranger Things and The Last of Us have a gigantic following.
A cult following, if you will.
And so when compared to last year, everything was probably gonna feel like a letdown.
Personally, I think the IPs are gonna be fantastic this year.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think we're gonna expect a line around 3 blocks of New York just to get into one house like we saw with Stranger Things. Stranger Things house was fun. Last of Us house was fun. We've seen some major IPs coming through in the last years, but I think these IPs that they're bringing in this year are going to still have a great following,
Oh yeah.
a great lineup of house experiences, and arguably some better scares.
Yeah, I think Insidious, when you talk about the argument that it's a pure Halloween Horror Nights house, like, that's gonna scare the bejesus out of you.
I think we can put that one up by Exorcist Believer, but yet nobody knew what to say about Exorcist Believer last year because the movie hadn't come out yet. So it wasn't nearly as hyped up as some of our other IPs last year were. This year, I think people just wanted to have stuff they knew. The same person followed up talking about Five Nights at Freddy's and how we didn't get that. Maybe next year. Like, we're keeping things in our pocket. We have options to pull out for following HHN seasons.
Next comment. Every year I go, I'm always disappointed by the hype, and then it's not all that when you go after spending so much money.
You don't have to
Don't
go.
have to go. Don't spend the money. Wait till next year.
If
Maybe
you
it'll be
don't
better.
like it, don't spend your money on it. We think it's great. And also, you know, there are ways to save money when you go to HHN.
For sure.
If you need help on that, let us know. We're happy to help.
Next comment. I feel like they cut the budget so they could support Epic Universe, to be honest.
Do you know
Maybe.
the people that make the budget? I'd be impressed. So impressed.
Who knows? We'll have to find out. I mean, we haven't experienced it yet, so a speculative comment like that.
I think it's easy to throw that stuff about
Yeah.
anything right now, especially with Epic on the way. I have no fear Universal is
It'll be
not
great.
hurting
For
to
money.
spend dollars. Not one bit. Next comment.
Next comment.
Another disappointing house. Not the best yeet for HHN house-wise this year. I think they meant year.
I think so too. We'll go with year. We've already kind of touched on the IP portion when when the comment talked about IPs. Originals are always some of our favorite houses though. And so when you talk about years past, like Legends Collide, amazing house.
Such a good house.
La Chupacabra, great
Yeah.
house.
Yeah. Winter's Wake, Dead Man's Pier, Winter's Wake.
Amazing house.
Fantastic house.
All the Monsters houses, the Monster House last year,
Ugh.
amazing.
Oddfellows last year.
Oddfellows, amazing. So
Amazing in its own scary, scary way.
yes, like you just don't know the stories of the originals until you experience them. So we'll wait to pass judgment on the originals until we actually get to go through them.
Wait until you go. Determine that after you've run through the house, even once or twice. Go for a day.
Exactly.
And see what you think.
I don't think anybody would have expected the Exorcist house last year to be as good of a house as it was.
The willies. Every single time we went through that house, just so freaked out by it, in a good way.
Six Flags got HHN beat this year big time. Hopefully next year will be better. Six Flags does have some powerful IPs this year. We will admit that when you look at the IPs at Six Flags when you compare them to HHN this year. However, HHN's original houses are always incredible. And so to look at that in a vacuum, I think is selling HHN short.
On the flip side, we have yet to go to Six Flags to truly compare these. So take what we say with a grain of salt. Give us a year, we'll be down in Orlando eventually, and we would love to attend the Six Flags event to really give you a true comparison between HHN and the Six Flags spooky seasons. So here's another one.
Here's another one.
We've heard this from a few people, even from our friends. Bring the horror. This movie is kiddish and was also pretty boring. It's not deserving of a house. And just to be clear, this comment was in response to Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Fair. But was the weekend house really that scary either?
No, but it was very fun.
So like the idea that it's like every house has to be this like slasher, gory, just over the top horror, like the weekend house was incredible, and it was not really a scary house really at all.
I think that Universal, although yes, there are times that they could step up the scares in some houses in particular, they have done fantastic in giving a sprinkling of all types of houses with all types of themes, because not everybody's scared of the same thing. The bug house absolutely terrified me. I can't stand bugs. Whereas if you were to put a clown house together,
Oddfellow house?
Ben's not gonna be a fan.
Not having a good time.
So you gotta look at it from the idea of how do we get scares for all types of people throughout all of these houses? Just, you know, running a demon type house or a slasher type house every single time, it get repetitive, guys. You gotta mix it up.
I love this comment. Bleh.
You must have ate something funny. Yeah, I'm glad someone took the time out of their day to write that on the internet. Final hate comment.
Final hate comment. All right, lamest year y'all have come up with yet. I don't care what anyone says, this looks like the cheapest and non-effort ideas they've come up with in a while. I'll see you next year.
Sounds good, man.
We'll see you next year.
We'll see you next year. One less person in line for us. Yeah. Now, I'm sure people are gonna put some hate in our comments from this, because not everybody agrees, and that's okay.
That's great.
That's the beauty of being able to have your own opinion about Halloween Horror Nights, between Universal and the House of Mouse, between Six Flags and all of these different spooky season options. There's so much down at Orlando to go to, or you can jump over to West Coast and visit Hollywood and do HHN over there. There's lots and lots of options. That said,
we think that this year for Halloween Horror Nights, you'll have to experience and then formulate your own opinion afterwards, but you should attend nonetheless so that you can formulate that opinion.
If you're not going within the first week, keep an eye out for some of our videos dropping right away from our experience of HHN 33 so that you can make that decision ahead of time if you have not already purchased your tickets. Or if you have, that way you can watch them and get hyped with us.
We'll see you in the fog. Bye.